Hello, welcome everyone back to another episode of Energy Unleashed. My name is Suzanne Worthley and I'm with my partner, Kim Hess. Hello, Kim.
Hello.
New background because why? Because Kim's sitting upstairs in my library. We're
I
going to do
am.
something really different today. We're going out on a limb. We're doing something a little bit different. I literally just got finished working a live session on Kim. Not even 6 minutes ago, right? I mean, we took a quick little break and ran upstairs, plugged in your computer, and we're going to go. We thought it would be fun to just go raw in terms of like what her intentions were, what I found and did, and what she experienced. And so when I do an actual healing, no matter who it is, I always start out by pulling an angel card when they're getting ready for even just the discussion of what the healing is about. And that usually gives them a prompt or maybe some kind of a concept to think about what they want to include in terms of the healing. And Kim today got, I'm going to try to get that in the frame better, the freedom card.
Freedom.
So when you saw that, Kim, what kind of triggered for you in terms of thoughts and moving into a healing today?
I really immediately thought release of blockages, especially around my throat area.
Yep.
Because I've been struggling like in this area a little bit. So
Right.
that was what came to mind immediately.
Okay, cool. And that actually was one of the intentions. So maybe if you want to and feel comfortable with sharing some of the bulleted intentions we talked about. So when I have a session, we will move from that card and then I kind of open it up to the client and say, hey, you're the one that, decided that this was where you wanted to move into as far as a healing. And what does that mean for you? And how do we, depending on the client, how much they know and don't know. Now, Kim knows a lot about this. So we just dove right in with your intentions and gave them pretty bulleted for me to write down and work from. And do you want to list any of those or is that
Yeah,
okay?
well, the first, go back to it's interesting. I just had an annual appointment and I've had thyroid issues for years and my thyroid is off a little bit. But I've
Yep.
also struggled with not pain, but mucusy, like it just doesn't feel right in my throat area up into my ear. And so I
Right.
asked that we can take a look at that and see if we can release whatever those blockages are, or identify what they are and release
Right.
those
Okay.
stuff. And then the other thing is I was working with Isis today I did a meditation that included Isis as a goddess and then drew a card. I have an Isis deck at home, Lana Fairchild, and it brought up Flower of Life, which is interesting because I don't usually work with the Flower of Life, but it's divine creativity and manifestation. And so I asked that they bring in the ability or bring in more creativity for me
Right.
through this healing session. And but part of that is also to um, release whatever is keeping me from allowing that to come in to begin with, but to allow myself to go with a flow around creativity and what I am to be, not having to know the detail, just trust that I'm in the right place at the right time and to be patient, was kind of what came out of that. And so to release whatever is blocking me from that was another intention. And I think the other thing was I've been just had a lot of pain in my joints and stuff. Like, what is that all about? I
Okay.
think other people have been experiencing that too, kind of a disconnect almost, but then pain in the joints. Um, so I think that's all I brought up. Was that all I brought up?
Yeah,
Or
and again, I think that's pretty close to my notes. What
yeah.
we do is, actually, I'm going to add in one more thing in a second. The one thing that you did ask for, but what we do with a client session is exactly that. We find that intention and we work on that intention. Now, source will take those wants and needs in any way that it chooses because it's basically your higher self and it will bring in it in any way it sees fit and or not, right? Because sometimes it's not about that divine timing of that particular thing. One of the things that you did ask for, and we were talking about our future selves, like where we are in the future, and can we get a glimpse of where the future Kim is, so that this Kim, who is in current life, which would technically be a past life to the future Kim, if we all followed that,
There you
right?
go.
Did you
Yeah.
get that? Okay. If that had anything to say, or if that's anything that we could ramp up or tag into. Okay. So that's kind of how that happened. So, do you want to go through kind of like what you were feeling on the table? And I'm just going to keep popping in what I was doing, and then I'll wrap it up with everything I did. Do you want to do it that way?
For me, there were actually body things that were happening. Like I was kind of
Okay.
giggling at one point because my foot kept twitching. I'm like, what is that all about? And I didn't get a read of what that is.
Okay.
But it was on the female side, up through my left leg to the hip.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's the side has been really painful for me recently with my knee
Yes.
in that area. And so that
Yep.
was one of the things that happened physically. So I don't know if you,
And that is really finding a lot of, we all, no matter who we are in a healing session, most oftentimes I feel the right left balance is off, meaning no matter what sex we are, the right hand side carries the male, left hand female energy. And so oftentimes we'll find that that client is fighting themselves in terms of that right left energy, back and forth, back and forth. And when we'll overcompensate, and then the body will get tired or sore, hence the knee, etc. So with your left hand side trying to get the attention of self-care, and the right hand side is that go go go, you've let go of a ton of that, but that left hand side is still balancing and cultivating its sense of self, its sense of knowing, its sense of grounding into its own self. This does include the creativity, by the way. So a lot of times and your mother, and I'm not knocking, I love your mom to pieces, but she's a very go, go, go woman, and, get things done and check and balance kind of thing. And that was a belief system that you learned in the female realm. And so this is something that you are continually letting go of, as at the very same time, all of us are bringing in more and more Mother God and nurturing energy. So it's a struggle on the left-hand side of almost all females right now. And also at the age that we are, our kids are gone and or going in lots of ways out of the nest and
yeah,
completely gone for both of us.
right.
And that will affect the knee oftentimes in terms of how am I needed now, or
Yeah.
I've left my job, or we're retired. How am I needed now? What's my sole purpose? And so these are really, really pieces that are about the release on that left-hand side, especially for you and where you're at with life. Does that make some sense?
It does, and especially I did a meditation today that was around
Yep.
releasing mother energy that is keeping me from moving forward. And it's not just my mother, it's mother
Right.
energy as a whole,
Right.
for my children, my mother, my lineage, and
And for the whole hologram,
oh,
because this mother
hologram.
energy is the whole thing, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
everybody right now. So that's super cool.
that
Good.
totally fits. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then, so one of the things that it was interesting, my, because, the doer, my busy mind, I was really working hard to quiet it down, quiet it down. And, it was hard. There were several times where I was like, I would quiet it down, and then I would see a ton of color and different things going on. But then all of a sudden, the busy mind would try and eke in again. I was kind of struggling with that. But a message that came through, I asked while I was laying there to quiet my mind, but to let me feel that connection with my higher self in a way that I know it's my higher self.
Okay.
And it was funny that the messages came through. Well, it's like, gosh, I'm getting like my head's
Single,
tingling
single.
was that you're connected to me. We're connected. It's a connection.
Yeah.
You just need to listen. And
Yeah.
I'm listening to this going, what? I just need to listen. What do you mean? Like I'm starting to argue with my higher self about the
As
connection.
you're listening and not listening, you're arguing. Yeah. Isn't it crazy how that happens?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And now in conjunction with that, the higher self, the lower self, I've worked on Kim for many, many years. And oftentimes when I am becoming more synergistic with a now very deep friend, it's harder to, no, I shouldn't say it's harder at all. It's easier to go farther out. So
Mm,
it's harder to be more 3D in these descriptions. Let me say it that way,
okay.
because the higher you go, the farther out you go in the work, it just becomes the people that I don't work on as often, and I can give them much more descriptions that most people can hold on to. So this is going to sound a little bit more obscure
Yeah.
than if I didn't ever know Kim or work on Kim. I would have different feedback. Does that make some sense there? Did I
Totally makes
sound
sense.
like,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. We've done this
So
before a little bit. Yeah.
at the level where we're at in knowing each other's frequencies with how much work we do together, what was happening for me is I do a split. I bifurcate. I almost split myself, and I'm working on your highest version of yourself, your Akashic version, your God self and I do this with everybody. So don't misunderstand that this is not something that's uncommon, but I want my hands. The way that it feels like is that I'm working here with Kim in the room, and then we're working here at the same time. Now, this is what happens every time I work on somebody, but when I know somebody more intimate, like in friendship or client work, I really feel that alignment differently in my own body, because I go out of body so much that I hover. And I don't do that when it's like a regular client in terms of I will merge with their body like the gentleman right before you. I am his body sitting across the room. With us now, we're at this point where our higher selves are merging, and we're almost like watching and observing the lower work.
Oh,
And
that's
so
cool.
it's really cool, and it's quite fascinating, and it feels really cool in terms of huge. It feels very spacious. It feels very infinite. And then I know that I'm in the Akash. So when I'm in that space and place, when we're in these two layers and levels simultaneously, and I get not a whole lot of words and clarity and thoughts and colors, I just get the abyss, then I know I'm in the Akash. So
Okay.
when I'm in the Akash with a client, the Akashic records, her soul place, the place that shows her blueprints, her instruction sets in the biggest realm, not her personal one that I'm working on her body, but the bigger one. And she was asking for more clarity and connection with that. And that's exactly what I was doing. So it's funny because I can feel that. And then me as a practitioner, just because of ethics, I sort of pull out of that, if that makes some sense, in terms of I sort of don't keep my nose in there to see exactly what's your whole entire purpose in being a soul. I mean, I'll take what they give me, but I won't budge into the Akash and be getting 100%. It's almost like I wait on the outside of the room until you're done reading that. In this case today, you made it for the first time. I don't usually see it this way, nor do you work this way usually. It looked like a gigantic book. And it looked like a gigantic book on the actual pedestal. Now, oftentimes people will bring in the Akasha or the Akashic records in that kind of a generic symbolized formation, but that's not something you or I neither do. So I thought it was very interesting that our essences together chose to bring it in that format, because it's not something that's common for
Right.
us, I guess.
Right.
And the book was gigantic, but it was such a Harry Potter moment because it flopped open by itself, and it was the big, huge, like this, like the pages were just like whoosh, and it was like this fat and thick. When the pages went flopping open, this unbelievable energy started coming out of it, and it was just swirling vortexual energy of every color. And then it ended up very, very golden. And then the golden dispersed up into the ethers. And that was fascinating to see, because I don't usually bring in the Akashic with a very, I guess, what I would call generic symbol of the book,
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting.
Well, and Akashic Records came into my brain, like I heard
Okay,
that at
good.
a point, when I was like busy by me, stop, quiet the mind, and
Yeah,
I clearly heard Akashic Records, but
yeah,
I did see though, it was blue, blue and purplish, like swirling,
yes.
but I did not see the gold. So,
Okay, and it just
yeah.
kept swirling, and then it
Mhm.
went up and then turned to gold, and then it dissipated, and that was super cool. Then you brought in this really, really crazy moment in time where we were thrown into almost like this really visual of a costume party, and people were very much in costumes. And I thought that that was super interesting, because I'm like, what is this about? And it was about massive inauthenticity and letting go of things that aren't particularly, a costume party, everyone's hiding behind the
Yeah,
costume, right?
right,
And
right.
it was really peeling off layers of inauthenticity in very many timelines. Hence, the visual for me was costumes of all different timelines and all different bizarre stuff. So it was really like, I get kind of like sometimes you're on some kind of like, woohoo trip because I get whatever the client brings in, and I always have to ask what is happening and why are you bringing this, because I'm
Yeah.
not going to put that intention in there. So this was about peeling away inauthenticities in many, many lifetimes that are concurrently running right now. And so it was a hodgepodge of really strange, it almost looked like a really bizarre little scene. So that was really, really odd. But then what that morphed into was the many timelines. And so then what I was seeing is how we were working on Kim's requests, her intentions, etc., in multitudes of timelines all at the same time. So
Wow.
for me, that looks like layer, 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 and they're just bouncing around. And I start to go through it with a matrix, and my head just does. Brrr. And so if you see me working, I'm literally going like this, and I just kept pulling, pulling, and I'm pulling, and then I would pull. And I'm just constantly doing this with my hands and pulling. So what I'm doing is in a matrix form, kind of like code on a computer. I'm running at warp speed through all of your timelines and all of your lifetimes at once to find whatever it is that we need to adjust or remove or ramp up or whatever
Mhm.
is per that intention from a higher space. And it's all happening simultaneously. So that was really a lot. Did you feel anything like brrr?
Yeah, there were times where like the rocks that you gave me were vibrating. Like I could feel the vibration and the heat
Yes.
of that at different points in time. Um, but I also think that the color changes and some of the things that I was seeing were probably fast paced at that time
Yep.
when you were doing that, but I couldn't see like the actual timelines. I didn't see that.
And did you feel a pulling, like almost like if someone was typing on an old manual typewriter from the olden days of da da da, and you'd shove that thing, and then it would go back, and you'd shove the thing. Remember those typewriters
Yeah.
when
Oh yeah.
that's what it feels like when I'm doing it, because it's like da 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 da, and then I shove it back, and then it goes da da da. Did you get any sensation of right, left of that?
I don't recall that. I don't
Okay, that's
recall
okay.
that. I just know that
Usually,
there were vibrations, and it could be that like one side to the other. Um,
oftentimes that's such a high level of your
mhm,
frequency that you won't necessarily feel it in your
mhm,
body
right.
because it's not in your body, it's in your records. And so you won't necessarily feel that. So I was just kind of curious if that was happening at all.
Yeah, I don't think I really specifically felt that. While I
Okay.
felt many things, it wasn't.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Then did you get anything else? Because I wanted to go into the creativity part.
No, go ahead. Go into the
So the
creativity.
creativity part, you were asking for a better alignment in creativity and being able to connect better, et cetera. And when I got to your creative, and this is not a judgment in any way, nor do I ever judge any client in any way, but I just follow the energy. It was great. And so your creativity was not color filled in any way today. And so that was really very apparent that you were just off in the connection of that creativity.
Yeah.
And so that when I see that will be very flat instead of all the colors swirling and moving. It's very flat, almost like reading the funny newspapers, but in black and white, you know?
Yep.
And then it was very muted. And so it's my job then as a practitioner to notice that this is really not up to speed on what Kim wants in terms of her creativity, or it would be filled with color and movement and dance, right?
Right.
So then my job there is to, and this is when we do a lot of breathing, and I was doing really different breathing. My breath does different work than my hands, and it kept going back to your throat, kept going back to your throat, kept going back. And I was doing a lot of clearing in my throat, being your throat,
Hmm.
and a lot of, so this is a lot of what is happening when you are lacking creativity. You are overabundant in what you would call your mucus or your whatever.
Hmm.
When you're overabundant in your mucus or whatever you want to call that in a 3D body, because maybe quite possibly it's crappy pollen right now and I just don't feel as well, then I also flip that paradigm too and say, I don't feel like being creative. So it's a coupling
Hmm.
of belief systems on both sides. Do you understand that?
Oh my gosh. So, okay, keep going with this
So
because,
what I'm saying is that when Kim is a human being traversing this planet, when it is the spring/summer of pollen and cottonwood and everything, I feel like crap. Therefore, my creativity takes a nosedive.
oh, got it. Okay, because
My
my
right?
energy is in a place where I'm not feeling, I'm feeling very
Correct.
flat, very,
Right.
yeah, I get what you're saying. So
So
that
you're, so
really
you're,
impacts my creativity.
yeah, so your field comes through that way. Now, there's different ways to look at this for being a human in this scenario. I can just say, look, I'm not as creative during this time period. This is partially my so-called 3D allergies season, blah, blah. And, or I can override that and say, I'm actually feeling all this mucus because I'm not being creative.
I
I
think that's
may
it.
just, huh?
That's it.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So there's two sides to the same coin. And so
mhm.
we want to always be aware that we're creating the dis-ease because of the consciousness flow. And we're also creating the consciousness flow because of the dis-ease. And so this is a relationship that you want to take on as you are the co-creator. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to decide how to be more creative. So they gave me, your guidance gave me some thoughts on how to ramp up that creativity when you are in that flat zone. They
Okay.
would like you, and this has to do with writing prayer deeper too and getting better information from source energy. They would like you to utilize the earth form in terms of, let me see if I've got anything I could, let's just pretend, let's pretend this is a rock. I would just pick up that rock and I would hold that rock and I would ask that rock, what do you have to say to me today? And then next I would walk over to that tree and I would hug the tree or touch the tree and say, what do you have to say to me today? So now if it has to do with prayer, I'm going to say to the rock, what is it? This is my prayer challenge right now. This is what I need some information on. So what they're asking you to do is be creative to get the creative juices flowing. Be creative with the creativity of the planet in the elements of earth, wind, water, fire, nature, etc.
Oh, that's cool, actually.
It's very cool. And
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that before. And I think I might steal that idea from your guides and just do it for myself as well, because it sounds like a really awesome thing to do. And if I don't have a prayer to write and I just want to ramp up my creativity connection, I simply am just, what do you want me to know today? What do you want me to do on behalf of you today? What would you like from me today? Et cetera, et cetera. So this was the connection they wanted to have you go further into. Okay.
So does that create that feeling of like I've just felt like I said this up front before we started too, and I just kind of dull. I'm not finding the passion and joy as much. And
Yes.
it's because the creative and seeing the magical and feeling the elements and all the energy around some of these wonderful things I haven't been doing it. Like
And
it's not there.
it's a catch 22 because people will not go and do the work because they feel flat,
Yeah,
and doing the work is what gets them out of feeling flat, and then that is the connection. So we're kind of screwed either way if we just let this keep going, and then it
right.
becomes our normal. So it is a self-responsibility to remember I am part of this planet, that I chose to be a guardian of this planet, and in my opinion the best way to do that work is to play.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter if I don't get any information one day. It doesn't matter if the tree doesn't say a dang thing that day. It
Mhm.
just is the effort put in. And not that we have to hug a tree and hold a rock every day, but it is about being responsible to know that I am on this planet just even simply with gratitude. I can be grateful for the clouds. I mean, I was driving yesterday just going, holy bananas, the clouds yesterday were so incredible. Thank you. Thank you. This is so cool.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Okay.
Okay.
So it is stepping outside of the blah and making the actual manifesting the wonder and the awe ourself by being present in it.
Okay, so I'm sitting here and I look over and the green man is looking at me from your from
From
your
myself.
library
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the shelf. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it.
Right. Because it's everywhere. It's our job
Everywhere.
to notice it. It's
Yeah.
like you can take a walk or you can take a walk.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what they're saying to you.
Okay.
Then we moved into the whole, I was concentrating on the thyroid issue the whole time, but then we zeroed back. We came around back to it. It was interesting. You were doing some butterfly work, which is transformation. So that this is after we were in the Akash and bringing in your alignment to all of this stuff. It came through as a butterfly. And the transformation of the two wings was really super interesting. And then the two wings of the butterfly became the actual thyroid,
Because the
because
thyroid looks like a butterfly.
it
The
does. And
thyroid affects
so,
the thyroid.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the butterfly was actually working first. And I'm like, oh, cool. She's transforming. This is awesome. We're bringing her to a higher frequency. And then you literally put that right into the throat chakra, which holds that actual thyroid organ, and then just synergize that. And so that rocker, we actually had a magnet on you here, was super hot and powerful when
It
we were
is.
done. So this did do a lot of shifting. And
And I saw the most butterflies I've seen at the cabin when we were up there last week
yeah,
and at our house. I'm like,
yeah,
all of a sudden there's a lot of monarchs and different, like Brad was like, I haven't seen a tiger butterfly
right.
while, and we saw one of those. I'm like,
The
wow,
orange ones are out at the cabin. The orange, this color ones are at the cabin. The ones that
yeah,
like will go into the dirt and such, they're fascinating to me also. Yeah, they're out everywhere. They did say, your guidance said that they want you to work with the butterfly transformation concept in the thyroid, because the thyroid for you on this personal journey carries multitudes of past life karmic trauma, and that is erased now and gone. And it is up to you to just believe that that is no longer serving you. The files have been cleared. Now Kim just gets to receive the benefits of that. And so it's really, really honoring the fact that that truly is happening. So the thyroid issue that you came in with as a human being in Kim form was taking the brunt and the burden of all of those years of not being able to speak up.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
So that
And
was really good.
based on some of my past life that has come up previously, that makes total sense.
Right.
No matter what I was or where I was. I think you look at population in general, during certain periods of time, you couldn't speak up.
Right.
You weren't allowed. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So
Wow.
now if you take a deep breath and tap into your body, can you feel a difference, even if it's a slight difference in the throat chakra and or the throat, the neck, the shoulders from when we began the work?
Oh, it's so much lighter.
Yeah,
Really feels more open here and lighter across my shoulders, across
right.
my chest area,
And you can get breath
and in
into the
my heart.
diaphragm. Yeah, yeah, good.
Mhm.
Your head is still working a little bit. You had a lot of programming going on in the back of the head, so this is still working a little bit. With every healing that we do, we always want to focus forward. So just say, this is still working. Your eyes were balancing right towards the end. So when we started the computers, you're like, oh, my eyes. Well, they should be back by now. So they should be coming back right now.
Yeah,
And
they
that's
feel
pretty good.
better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that your grounding will be a lot better. It is always critical that we stay on top of the bubble. I know that you do a pretty good job at that, but the right-hand side of the bubble was pretty tattered and torn. So
But
that means that you've been in the go, go, go mode.
mhm.
So just acknowledging the fact that, hey, I've been a human 3D go, go, go monster the last 2 weeks. I know my bubble is probably ratted and torn, and being more tenacious about staying on top of that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. And then when we wind down a healing, this is usually how it goes. And then I have them pick 3 cards from the deck. I picked the freedom card for her at the beginning, which she already resonated with. I pick 3 blindly when they're done, and they signify what she needed before the work, what the work did, and where she's going from the work. And so what she needed from today's work is the support card, understanding that she is not doing this alone.
Mm,
This is super
good.
interesting to me and very pertinent to me. How about for you?
It is because I um there are times you just really feel isolated and alone in some of this.
Yeah.
And I also have not been tapping into my support group as much as I was previously.
Yep.
I think that makes a huge difference because you realize when you start to talk about different things that are happening physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is, others are going through the same thing. And to have that
Especially
support,
now. Yeah.
right?
Especially now. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think talking to people in general, there's been a lot more feeling of anxiousness, of disconnect, of flatness, like we talked about the flatness, and just kind of tired of being patient.
Yeah.
A lot of people have like recently, just different people that I've been talking to have been in that place. And those were definitely things I was feeling also.
Yeah.
So then when you start to talk about that with others, I started to realize that, wow, it's just not me. Like I was beating myself up. That mental track started playing. You're
Yeah.
not doing what you're supposed to. What do the old,
Why isn't anything happening fast enough?
yep. If you
And
were
what
doing
makes
your
me
work
kind of
better,
giggle,
what work
what
are you doing?
What makes me kind of giggle is that we sit here and we berate ourselves that the work isn't happening fast enough, and yet it's a 26,500 year cycle.
I know, right? Could you just speed it up a little?
What is wrong with this? Why isn't it happening so fast? And the funniest part is we're collapsing all timelines, past, present, and future. So, I
Yeah.
mean, how the heck can we say that we're not doing this work, you know? I mean, and so I think the support card also came through in terms of what your intention was, to kind of support yourself, meaning I'm supporting my current self by my future self's knowledge and wisdom. And so this is something that all of us can ask for. This is something that I actually work with quite a bit with myself, knowing that there is a piece of me that holds that space from the future in this body here now. And so I get to have that support from that essence and that being, and hopefully eventually more channeled information from that being, because they already know how the story ends, right? So it's really important for us to think in those terms if we choose to, because that's a really big support system. Okay.
That's awesome. I like it.
All right. So the card that I got for the work today, you got the retreat card. And so this means going inward for the work. And this is something that is very important for us, and an additional message of it is very much about taking some quiet time right now. Our bodies are getting hammered, and I don't usually have a whole lot of fatigue and or hardly ever nap. And I have been sleeping and sleeping and sleeping and sleeping. And I mean, it's like you're just sitting there and all of a sudden you could just go like this. And that is so not what I normally do, which tells me that we are getting our butts, you know, kicked with CMEs, you know, coronal mass injections, solar flares, things from the sun more so than even the earth. I know the Schumann makes a difference too, but these are electric energies that are really pummeling us right now with new codes, new activations, really bringing us higher to frequencies that we're not used to. And so this is a time to not only go inward for our messaging like that card means, but also just relax and retreat when it's time.
Yeah, I feel like I've been doing some of that.
Good.
But then that track starts to run of you should be doing something,
Why aren't you doing the
you know,
laundry?
da 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 da. Yeah, right. It's like it's
Yeah.
like what the heck? Why does, why isn't it okay
Yep.
to just sit and just have that time?
So
So
just for fun, I'm going to digress before we go to the last card. Just for fun, when that mental thing comes, Kim, the
yeah.
next time, just for fun, do the exercise that your guidance gave you in terms of when that starts to come, and I know I triggered and I'm getting into that mental field of rumination, instead of letting that go grab a rock and
Oh,
ask the rock, what do I do with the mental rumination? What triggered? What do I need to know about this? And rely on the tool that they gave you to see if you get better paradigm shifting, quicker, faster information,
okay.
ownership of it with joy in nature, instead of just allowing the rumination, because the rumination will beat you down.
Oh, it does. It
Yeah.
does.
Especially if you're
Okay.
doing it in the middle of the night,
Oh,
right?
great.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Super important.
Okay.
Okay, and then the final card represents what Kim needs to do at moving forward from this healing session. And you got the divine, what is it? Divine timing card.
I mean,
Okay, so this is a couple of things. Knowing that this healing came at a particular divinely timed period to move forward and advance. Also, this means because it is your future card, look for the divine timing in terms of the things you were asking for and requesting. So it's a dovetail here. So really be open to saying to spirit, what, give me the sign of what I need to know from what I learned or received from the healing in terms of my timing in the next 2 weeks or so. So because we still are healing for about a couple 3-4 days. So be aware of asking for that clarity.
and that's really important because as soon as I leave your house and get into traffic and then go home,
Yep.
it's so
It can be
easy
done.
not to think about the healing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it just
Yeah.
goes like, oh, whatever.
Yep. I know. I know.
Okay.
Okay. And then funny enough, I normally only pick 3 cards, but 4
Yeah.
popped out for Kim. And
Of course.
I thought that was cute. And you're going to laugh at it because this is one of the things you actually articulated is the manifestation card.
Oh, nice.
And so I thought that was really adorable that you literally picked the card that you wanted to be better at because of the healing. So I thought that was super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Yay.
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 Okay,
This was
anything,
really, really
is there
great.
anything that you didn't get clarity on that we need to do a check-in with? Or are you pretty good with all of this? I mean, either way is fine with
Uh,
me.
No, everything totally made sense and it aligns with what I came in with,
Okay, good.
for intention. Um, but I do, when we were in the Akashic records, I feel like it's come up a few times now and recently that I am to be more familiar with Akashic records
Okay.
and to utilize them more. And I also feel like I just had a healing session the other day with someone else that I do document or I what is
Archive.
it?
Yep.
Archive
Yep.
information, which also kind of coordinates with my connection with whales because they are, they
Ah,
carry the Akash, right? So
right.
yeah. So is there more that I need to hear about the Akashic records
Well,
for?
actually, when you're asking the question, I think it's always good to, and the other healer, it does different kinds of work, and that's why I love modalities. So take that information from hers and understand that you are, wanting to take your archive information, take that whole thing and take it with this one and take it with the whales and take it and put it all together. Start asking the whales to show you the Akash.
Okay.
Start asking the water, which is your favorite place to work. The Akash does not have to be a book. You, for whatever reason, brought it through in the Harry Potter Disney book today, but it does not have to be that in any way, shape, or form. You literally could put on a tape with sonic sounds from the actual whales and or dolphins, and you could just listen to it as if they were speaking light language to you. Ask them the question of what you want to know from the Akash, or just say, read my Akashic to me of what's pertinent for today. I'm doing Akashic work differently in terms of I don't care a whole lot about, this is personal, I don't care about past lives a whole lot. I think that they're kind of really inflated, and I think that
Yeah.
is just kind of, so I don't do necessarily the Akash for past life stuff as much as future. So you can also take that concept of I'm already aligned with my future self in my fractal of who I am soul wise, and I'm actually going to learn from myself. And again, this comes with quiet time and going into the retreat card, going inner, going inside, and asking and documenting and archiving the information on behalf of yourself, from yourself, for yourself.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
was a
because it
lot.
wasn't that I want to go into my past lives. I don't feel that at all. I
Yeah.
feel like most of that it's gone. Like
Yeah.
it's been archived, read only, the whole thing.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
more about being kind of a record keeper or working with the Akashic records somehow.
Okay, and then in that instance, what they want you to do is what is it that you want me to be recording and or re-editing today? Where do you want me to transfer this file? And it's asking the assistance of the direction. When we work with anything in terms of spirit, we're actually working with guidance from our higher self or our fractal of God source. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to have the direction because I am asking for what I need. It
Hmm.
is no different than a 3D boss. What the hell do you want me to do on this project? Because if you're just going to tell me to go do the project and I'm only a piece of this project, I'm going to stand there as an employee going, okay. But if my boss is really cool and says, I want you to go find this and do this, that's great. But you have to ask. And so you are the other employee walking into the boss's office saying, what do you want me to do on this piece today? So
Yeah.
it comes from the initial asking.
Okay.
And the better you get at asking, the better the answers get,
Right. The more that, yep, I agree.
right? And it doesn't mean that you can't ask for it from the Akash as well. I would like more information on this today. Can you assist me? So you're doing a flip because you're really on both sides of the Akash anyway. I mean, really,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That totally makes sense.
So you can flip that concept by saying, today, I want you to let me in on this information.
Right.
Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
Super easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We make the Akashic records a really big deal because I think they've been confusing for people. And basically all it is, records upon records upon records. And don't underestimate that even this session, this time right now in electronics is archived. I mean, everything's archived. That's what the Akash is. It's just archives upon archives.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Otherwise, everything else made, sense to me in
Good.
a connection for what I intended before even showing up today
Okay,
and
cool.
what we were able to go through. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And then I would like to reiterate, whenever we do a healing, we want to know that especially quantum work will be working for 2 to 3 days. And so only focusing forward on the things I want, not giving attention to what I don't, so the work does not flip. Which means if I was having some heaviness in here and it's even open this much, I'm concentrating on grateful for, oh, it's open and I like open and I want more open. Not, well, that's still kind of heavy. Because if I put that out there, then they're like, oh, you wanted the heavy back, and then it flips. So we never want to flip the work on the flip side of a healing by focusing on what I don't want. It's all about law of attraction for the next 2 days. The rest of the work is done. The only last thing I want to say is a lot of people don't trust work. You've done enough work that you trust work. But if you were a new client, I would say, you released that. Don't give it attention again, because all you're going to do is regerminate it and regrow it and redo it, right? So trust the work, not the worker, just trust the work, right? It's
Right.
important.
Yeah, I agree, because you can flip that around really quickly.
Yeah, really fast.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
awesome. Well, that was
great.
fun.
It was. Thank
Thanks
you.
for sharing.
I know, yeah. Guinea
Yeah.
pig again. Woo-hoo.
Awesome. All right, everybody. If you like this video, please hit the like button or the share button and maybe the subscribe button. We would love to hear some comments from you if you choose to. And we really love being here for you and appreciate you watching. So until next time, on behalf of both of us, Cosmic Hugs.
Goodbye.